Hey everybody, it's Lee. How you doing? It is time for the daily briefing. It is Monday, April 24th. I like checking my watch to make sure I get that part right. Just working. The thing that happened over the weekend was I posted a story on Google placing a paid ad for Anwar al-Awlaki. I went into a complete research rabbit hole this weekend where I literally spent 36 hours doing research or something like that between Friday and Sunday night, which I find personally sometimes I have to do. Sometimes the only way I can get the work done that I do is going really deep into research, but then you got to pull yourself out at a certain point and try to find a story. When I saw this paid ad for Anwar al-Awlaki, I realized there was a story there, just the fact that Google was running the ad, but I have a lot more coming on that. I also went out to dinner last night. The research that I'm doing about al-Awlaki, who's a major terrorist, you can go read it at The Populist, who was killed about 5 years ago, but still is very influential, has to do with research I'm doing concerning 9/11. So one thing I did, because I happen to live in Virginia now, is I actually went right to the house where 4 of the 9/11 hijackers lived. And it was very interesting seeing it, being there physically. I'm going to say this again. Sometimes there's no substitute for being someplace physically. So anyway, let me get, we have a question tonight. Let me get to it. Someone's question right away is, as a follow-up to my question on sources, it sounds like what you're saying is that once you observe the presence of ideologically opposing influence, Conan Powell, this is talking about the story I've been talking about recently, about Gary Cohn and Dina Powell. Again, you can read that at The Populist. So the person's saying, once it seems like you observe the presence of an ideological opposing influence, Conan Powell, inside the Trump White House, you did the research to prove that Kushner was responsible for this opposition to Trump's campaign agenda. Then your inside source was able to verify or shed more light on the contrasting dynamics between Steve Bannon and Kushner's inside the White House. Is that correct? Short answer is no. I had gotten a tip to look into Conan Powell from somebody connected to the White House. Then when I researched them, Kushner and Ivanka came up all over the place in that research. So I'm just trying to correct what the order of operations here. You couldn't help but research Gary Cohn and Dina Powell without Kushner and Ivanka Trump coming up, because they were very close to them. So then that led to a process where nothing there. There were also reports out at the time about some of the tension between Kushner and Bannon. So the question goes on. So as journalists, we can do the same thing in our stories. Observe happening or events involving our topic, research them thoroughly, then look for sources to verify or add to the research. And the answer is yes, but that's slightly too linear. It's a circle of life. In fact, the right way to do it is the information comes from wherever it comes from, and then you research, then you go back to sources if you need to, then to research. There's no it's like finding a job. You know, when you find a job, can you do that by looking through the want ads? Yes. Can you do that by hearing about a job from friends? Yes. Can you do that by walking down the street and seeing a sign in the door that says now hiring? Yes. What should you do? Yes. Do you see what I'm saying? If you want a job, you should be doing all of that. There's nothing you shouldn't be doing. So if you're trying to figure out a story, you have to go where the facts lead you. And so sometimes you'll research and you'll find something, then you'll go to a source. Right now, There's a phrase, the harder I work, the luckier I get. It's very true in journalism. The harder you work, the more you research, the more sources you will find, and the more sources you find, hopefully that will lead to questions which make you do more research. There's no linear way to do it. That's what I'm getting at. You just continually do the work. I don't know if that helps, but it's true. I really don't. I don't know if it helps, but it's absolutely true. You just have to keep working it and be relentless. And that's it, okay? So hopefully feel free to follow up or feel free to research. But there's no straight linear process. It's doing everything, okay? Bye, guys. See you tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Good question. Keep the questions coming.